Hi, I'm Howard Nema, and this is a Truth Talk News special report. I still have too many friends that are not aware of the New World Order, or resistant to it, don't believe it. I think it's because they can't understand it. And maybe it's just because I'm not that great a communicator as, like, say, G. Edward Griffin.
As long as they're advancing the goal of the New World Order based on the model of collectivism, then everything else is just showmanship. Let's turn to a couple of brief examples. Just about every major political event in American history and American politics since World War II is a good example if you know what to look for. But let's not go all the way back. Pick it up with, let's say, the Panama Canal. The Carter administration gave away the Panama Canal, as you know, and nobody wanted that. The voters didn't want that. Republican voters didn't want that. Democrat voters didn't want it. They conducted polls among the American people, and the poll was overwhelmingly, I don't know, 85% or something, about save the Panama Canal for the American people, and the other 15% didn't care. I mean, they just didn't have an opinion. And yet they gave away the Panama Canal. Why? Who were these elected representatives serving? That happened to have been the goal of the Council on Foreign Relations. And it was the drive to give away the Panama Canal was led on both sides of the aisle by members of the Council on Foreign Relations. Now, at a more current day, the Republicans, of course, are clamoring for war in the Middle East, and they advocate that we give more power to the UN. Now, the Democrats, they're different. They call for peace in the Middle East and advocate that we give more power to the UN. And of course, after the Democrats did win a majority in Congress, we thought, or some people thought, oh, now there's going to be a big shift in policy. Well, there wasn't, was there? Quigley called it exactly. They could argue about it in campaign days, but once you're elected, you go back to what you're programmed to do, which is to follow the directives of the Council on Foreign Relations. Now, Republicans promote legislation to restrict rights in the name of terrorism. Now, the Democrats give speeches of concern over that, and then they vote for those laws. There's really no difference except the rhetoric. The electorate does not want that, but that is the goal.
Isn't that interesting, though? Isn't it interesting how... One digression. Isn't it interesting how now the reverse is true? Now we have a Democrat who's the president, and we have the Republicans screaming about the rights. See how from 2007, this G. Edward Griffin presentation has clarity today. And what does it tell you? Exactly what he just stated. They're working for the same goal.
Patriot Acts 1 and 2 and all the rest of these liberty-stealing acts that are coming through, all of those were written in principle before 9/11, and they were written by members of the Council on Foreign Relations. The Democrats promote legislation to restrict freedom in the name of stopping global warming. The Republicans object strongly to that, and then they vote for those laws. Now, the electorate doesn't want that, but that is the goal of the Council on Foreign Relations. The Republicans are all for restricting freedom of speech in order to prevent sedition, anti-sedition laws to protect America and to protect the government, to protect our homeland.
And it's always to protect national security.
Diplomatic community.
It's just been revoked.
And the Democrats don't like that, but they promote similar laws in the name of stopping hate speech. Hate speech now is prohibited. The American people don't want that, either of those, But both of those are the goal of the Council on Foreign Relations. Republicans give speeches about the danger of illegal immigration. The Democrats give speeches about compassion. And then both of them join together and support measures and soon-to-be laws and treaties that will merge Canada, the United States, and Mexico together as one political unit, and there will no longer even be an issue of immigration, because we'll all be one big country. The American people don't want that, but that is the goal of the Council on Foreign Relations. Republican leaders steal elections outright using electronic voting machines that were designed to be fraudulent. It's not something that was hacked into and some evil person figured out how to rig a perfectly innocent election voting machine. These machines were designed from the very beginning to do that. Now, you would think the Democrats would be outraged because their candidates have lost elections with this rigged voting machines, but they're not. Oh, they say, I wonder if we lost the election. They do nothing. They remain silent because they know that rigged voting machines are really the ultimate form of the Quigley Formula. They know that this is a way, ultimately, to allow the American people to think that they're participating in their own political destiny, and they have no idea what's going on in those machines, and the newscasters will tell them how they voted. And they're just waiting for their turn, the Democrats are. I think if they've been told, next election is their turn, so be patient. You see, these people are like wrestlers. Phony wrestlers. My grandmother used to watch wrestling matches. She'd get all excited, you know. Did you see that guy? Man, he hit him hard. He threw him out of the ring. I said, Grams, calm down. These are professionals. It's all put on. They rehearse this stuff. Oh, I don't think so. Like, he really hit him hard, you know. I could never convince her that that was phony. The guy with the red mask or the guy with the black tights, they're mean-looking guys. How could they be phony? That's American politics, ladies and gentlemen. It's a phony wrestling match, and these guys are in it, and they can hardly wait until the American people are so dumbed down and so passive that they will accept electronic voting machines to tell them how they voted. And both political parties are in on that at the top. Now, there's quite a grassroots movement to expose all this and to reverse all this, but you'll find that this is coming from the grassroots. There's no support whatsoever from the top of either political party. Now, we got to talk about the cheerleaders. It's not just the political candidates themselves, but the cheerleaders are out there to tell us how to think and to shape the debate. And they're the ones that really have as much or maybe more influence on how we vote than the candidates themselves. So who are the cheerleaders? Rush Limbaugh would be one. I would put him right up there at the top. If there was an award to give to Quigley Formula cheerleader, he would get an award. He does a great job of exposing and ridiculing corrupt Democrats, but he never met a Republican he didn't like, regardless. He's all for the UN and will never mention the CFR. Never. On the other side, we've got such a nice, likable guy as Michael Moore. Now, Michael does a great job of exposing and ridiculing corrupt Republicans, but he never met a Democrat he didn't like. And he's all for the UN and will never mention the CFR. There's an organization that you've all heard about called Accuracy in Media. I used to think they were pretty good because they did a great job of exposing the deceit and treachery within the ranks of Democrats. And then finally it dawned on me, hey guys, what about the other side of the aisle? They never mention deceit and treachery among the Republican groups, and they never mention the CFR. There's an organization called Move On. It does a great job of exposing deceit and treachery within the ranks of Republicans. But it never criticizes Democrats whatsoever, and never mentions the CFR. You're beginning to get the picture here. We have cheerleaders that are on the payroll. Now, the Quigley Formula has turned voters into tennis balls. We have a tennis game, and then the Republican candidates on one side of the net and the Democrat candidates on the other, and we're the tennis balls. We're supposed to decide the outcome of our political destiny. So we allow ourselves to be hit really hard by one of the players, and we bounce over the net. We get over there, so this is better, and then finally we get hit, and back and forth, back and forth. We don't like this, we don't like that. And what happens is that Americans begin to choose their candidates not of what they like, but what they hate. People used to vote for a man or a candidate because they liked it. Now they vote because they hate the other one. It's the politics of hate. We get hit so hard. We hate Bush. We hate Clinton. So we're not going to vote for those guys. We'll vote for the other ones. We won't look at their record. We won't look at their political principles. In fact, we don't even think about political principles. You'd never find political principles discussed in the political debates. It's always some issue which is devoid of principles. And I think that little kids in the first grade classroom voting on the gender of a kitten are more apt to come up with the right answer than the American people voting on political parties or candidates without any knowledge of political principles whatsoever. The kids stand a better chance. And so we're like these tennis balls being thrown back and forth, back and forth. Well, the players can win a game, but the tennis ball never wins. And that's where we are today. All right, now we come to the end. What is the solution? Well, are you ready for this? There isn't any. Ask anyone, they'll tell you. It's all over. Collectivism has won. We are serfs in a modern, high-tech feudalism. Our lords and masters control us. They control our money. They control our media. They control our political parties. They control our educational institutions. They control the places where we work. They control everything. They control the military. They control the police. You think we're going to change this? Those who benefit from this are too comfortable and happy with it. And those who suffer under it are afraid to speak out for fear they will be punished. So it's all over. Get used to it.
Baloney.
Now wait a minute. I just had an idea. What would happen if just 2% of the American people came together and, knowing what we've been talking about tonight, they were determined to defeat this monster? Just 2%. What if they understood the principles of freedom? It's not that they were just voting against something. I don't like this, I don't like that. What if they understood what they wanted? What if they had a creed of freedom and really knew what freedom was based upon and cared enough to study it and to teach it to their kids? What if they joined together in a network involving people with similar ideas from all nations, all cultures, all races, all religions, and formed into a true international brotherhood of freedom? And what if they understood, really understood, the strategy of influencing society by influencing the power centers of society instead of just throwing themselves out randomly? What if they understood the structure of society and said, hey, we're going to help each other and work with each other to become effective and dominant in the power centers of society and take them back just the way we lost them? Do you think if we did that, we could defeat this monster? Yes, I think so too. That sometimes the most difficult problems can be solved much easier than you think. Thank you very much.